Treason is back in fashion. You can see it in our cultural zeitgeist. One of the most successful video games in recent years is Among Us, where the crew of the spaceship has to unmask a saboteur before the saboteur kills everybody. The BBC has had great success with a game show called The Traitors. And of course, in civilized countries, questioning your opponent's loyalties is now perfectly normal. But why is treason suddenly on everybody's lips? And what kind of people turn out to be traitors? To be a good traitor, you'd have to enjoy betraying people. Breaking people's trust to get ahead is a feature of all Machiavellians. When psychopaths and narcissists use their cynicism and their cold empathy to get people to trust them, it actually gives them a buzz. This is called the duper's delight, a kind of smug satisfaction from conning people. You see, narcissists think that they're better and smarter than everybody else, even if there's no evidence for that. In fact, most narcissists have average IQs. And in terms of real-life outcomes like relationships or money, narcissists tend to be, well, losers. If you want to be a good traitor, it helps if you're vengeful. Narcissists are the eternal victims, the downtrodden abusers of everybody else. Psychologists have speculated as to where this victim mindset comes from. It could be childhood abuse, or too much pampering as a toddler, or it could be genetic. Some renegade academics have put forward the idea of the spiteful mutant. This is the idea that some people who are radically different from their peers become resentful and parasitic, and they actively undermine their own societies. Spiteful mutants will display maladaptive behaviours, such as siding with a foreign enemy against their own kind. Interestingly, it's not clear if spiteful mutants are conscious of what they are doing, or if they even see their own behaviour as betrayal. To them, they're just trying to make a difference. A fear of betrayal can also boost your treason skills. Paranoia is the water where narcissists swim. To them, the universe is a hostile place where quaint ideas like trust and love have no meaning at all. There is actually some evidence to suggest that deep down, narcissists are aware that other people instinctively don't like them. We've all met that guy who is way too pleased with himself, or that woman who spreads nasty gossip. Narcissists give healthy people the ick, because they're always using manipulation, trying to get ahead of their inevitable downfall. This morbid fear of betrayal is actually more pronounced in people with borderline personality disorder, who have a deep-seated fear of abandonment. The inability of borderlines to trust anyone, or even believe that anyone could trust them, has deep traumatic roots. Many borderlines are hypersexual, using their physical appeal to create an intimacy that's ultimately and tragically impossible. Let's take a tangent and look at some traitors from history. The last person to be executed for treason in the UK was a man nicknamed Lord Haw-Haw, real name William Joyce. Speaking in an affected upper-class English accent, probably a bit like mine, his crime was to put out Nazi propaganda during the Second World War. Interestingly, Allied troops would listen avidly to his broadcasts to get around news blackouts on their own side. Today, though, we live in more enlightened times when we're not supposed to listen to what our enemies are saying at all. It's not so surprising that the American journalist Tucker Carlson has been labelled a traitor for chatting with Vladimir Putin. Honestly, it's enough to make you wonder who the traitors really are. For writers and journalists, accusations of treason are routine. The Russian dissident Alexander Solzhenitsyn was originally arrested and sentenced to the Gulag for criticising Stalin. But it was only after the publication of his works depicting the brutality of the Soviet regime that he was formally accused of treason and exiled. His treason charge was lifted in 1990 after the fall of the Soviet Union. So, as the French statesman Charles Talleyrand is reported to have said, treason is only a matter of dates. So, here's a heretical idea. Can treason actually end up strengthening society? Hating on traitors brings people together, and yes, there really are people who are out to get us. Here, some research into collective narcissism is quite interesting. Collective narcissism is described as exploiting extreme loyalty to your group for selfish ends, kind of like reverse treason. But I think here we're at risk of pathologizing perfectly natural human identification with your own kind. A recent study by Biddlestone and colleagues, published in the British Journal of Psychology, rather absurdly paints all kinds of nationalism as collective narcissism. The authors add that collective narcissism predicts belief in conspiracy theories about COVID-19, gender politics, and other stories we've been told. Some other experts, going all the way back to Carl Jung, have said that collective narcissism can be induced by narcissists. I think we saw this during the mass psychosis of the COVID era, where the state behaved almost psychopathically towards its citizens, hounding anyone who dissented from the narrative. We are still living with that trauma bond, and it's going to be very hard to break. As the truth about what happened between 2020 and 2022 gets slowly clearer, could it be that our narcissistic elite is mainstreaming the idea of treason and projecting these ideas onto its own people? Are we being betrayed? Do we need to take steps? And why can't some of us speak up for ourselves without being seen as literally Hitler? So, what is treason? Do you have to be a narcissist to be a traitor? Well, it's easy to define treason simply as forsaking your own kind, unless your motivations are pure and your timing is good, in which case it's not treason at all. I think that's something that narcissists and everyone else can agree on.